Hello, everybody. I am Lena Lassiter, an advanced grief recovery method specialist. I'm a senior in corporate America and the founder and president of Forever Healed. We are a nonprofit, and what we aim to do is to assist those with broken hearts to end their pain and reclaim their lives forever. This is done in several different ways. Through our grief recovery classes, licensed by the Grief Recovery Method Institute. We offer one-on-ones and group grief recovery classes. We also educate corporate on the hidden cost of grief in the workplace. And we do that through lunch and learns and through seminars. We also have a program on how to help children with loss, where we go into the school systems and we educate counselors and educators on how to help children who are navigating through their grief and their loss. So thank you guys for joining me tonight. For those of you who are joining, give me a shout out. Let me know where you're joining from. Just say hello. We are going to be quick tonight. I'm going to offer you 6 tips to help you if you are dealing with the loss as a result of a financial crisis. Okay? So remember, grief is a change or end of a familiar behavior or pattern. So as a result, we will feel emotional grief, due to our finances, the loss of our finances. So whether you have lost your job, a portion of your income, or if you have medical bills after an unforeseen event, a financial crisis will take its toll, right? But it doesn't have to take a toll on your well-being. So thank you for those of you who are joining tonight. Again, let me know that you're watching and where you are watching from. I'm Lena Lassiter. I am the founder and president of Forever Healed. We are a nonprofit and we help those who are suffering the pain due to a loss of any kind. We help them to recover. We help them to reclaim. We help them to restore their lives. Tonight, we're going to be talking about financial loss, but more specifically, financial healing. I want to get us to a place of financial healing. Hello, Tanya. Thank you for joining. Hey, Don from California. How are you? Good to see you ladies tonight. Again, I'm not going to hold you long tonight. I'm going to jump in and give you some quick tips because next week and the week after, we're going to have some licensed and certified financial experts on to answer any questions that you may have. So again, tonight we're talking about financial loss. So you could have lost your job. You could have lost a portion of your income due to separation or divorce, or perhaps you stopped working a part-time job. Perhaps you have medical bills again as a result of an unforeseen event. So you may experience feelings of grief after a financial hardship, to include feeling angry, to include anxiety, fear of where you are, and fear of the future. And you could also be feeling some guilt if you feel like you're the cause of your financial hardship. Hi, Regina. How are you? Regina is an author of children's books called Lena. You have to check her out. Thanks for joining me, Regina. Hi, Miss Pat, also an author. All right, I have my authors on here tonight. Thank you so much for joining me, ladies. So just some quick tips to help us navigate through a loss as a result of a financial hardship, okay? So I want to make something really, really clear tonight. You don't have to allow your financial loss, you don't have to allow your financial loss to take a toll on your well-being. So I want to focus on that tonight, okay? So it may take some time to rebound from a financial loss, but you need to stay level-headed, and I need you to stay focused as you navigate through your healing journey. I'm going to provide you with 6 tips on how to help you to recover mentally after going through a financial setback. I'm not trained in financial services, okay? I'm not a trained financial expert. So what I'm going to be discussing tonight is the emotional impact of a financial loss and just some practical steps to help you through your hardship, your setback. But look at your setback as a setup for your future state, right? We don't have to stay there. It doesn't have to take a toll on you moving forward, your well-being. We don't have to allow it to take a toll. So I definitely want you guys to get that, to understand that. All right, so next week on the 17th, we are going to have Rita Taylor Stewart join us. She's the co-founder of Centric Vision Consulting, LLC. She is a licensed financial expert. And on the 24th, we're going to have Ayanna Smith join us, who's also a licensed financial professional. So you don't want to miss them. So write down any questions that you have for the experts and join us the next couple of weeks, okay? So if you are going through a financial crisis, the first thing I want you to do is to take an intentional pause. Take an intentional pause. So what do I mean by that? So during a crisis, it can be very hard to think clearly. Therefore, you have to give yourself time to navigate through your grief growth process, right? Because if you tend to spend when you're stressed or take more financial risk with your money in the hopes of recovering faster, you could be setting yourself up for even more financial hardship. So remember, we talked about the STIRBs, short-term emotional relieving behaviors. Some of us will spend money, right, when we're stressed out. Some of us spend money when we're trying to avoid uncomfortable feelings. So again, those are those short-term emotional relieving behaviors. So just take some time, just pause a second. Just take some time to just pause as you navigate through your loss. Okay, so pause to feel. Reflect on how you feel, right? Take an emotional inventory. So take an intentional pause. The second thing I want you to do is to find support. Find support. So if you are stressed or having a hard time staying focused because of your financial crisis, don't be afraid to reach out to others for support. You can contact a trusted friend, a family member. You can seek out professional help. That could be a grief counselor or a therapist to help with your emotional state, but also a financial advisor or expert. And what they can do is they can provide resources and tools to help you get out of your financial crisis state, right? So this step will help you to reclaim. This step will help you to restore. And this step will help you to recover from your financial crisis, okay? So the first thing we're going to do if we're in a financial crunch, we're going to take an intentional pause. The second thing we're going to do, we're going to find support, okay? So number 3, we are going to sit down with our budget. Sit down with your budget. I want you to take a look at your finances, right? Because sometimes what we tend to do when things are painful or uncomfortable, we tend to ignore. How many of you are willing to share if you have ever just tried to ignore your pain? So what happens if that's you, just put a 1 in the comments. You just want to ignore it like it's just going to go away, right? So some people will ignore their bills, ignore invoices. They will neglect their budget when they're going through a financial crisis. Why? Because they don't want to feel. So I want you to take a look at your finances. Just again, we tend to ignore, we tend to discard, right? Take stock of your current expenses. And I want you to reevaluate your priorities to free up some extra cash. So this can make it easier to replenish your savings. So when we re-examine our budget, it also gives us some relief from anxiety or stress that we may be experiencing about our financial situation. Okay, so let me see. Some of you were bold enough to put it in there. Yep, so Regina and Kimberly said yes. Thank you, ladies. Thank you for sharing. And then one thing you can also do is that you can reach out to your creditors and you can explain your situation, right? To seek alternatives. I used to work in debt collections. And the last thing they want to do is write off that debt. So call your creditors, ask for alternatives. Sometimes they can remove your finance charges for a certain amount of period. They can lower your payments for a certain amount of period. So I want you guys to have this in your toolbox so that you can understand that you can actually do these things. Because again, they don't want to write it off as a bad debt. So some creditors are willing for a period of time to allow you to not have the interest finance charges. They may lower your monthly payments. So you don't know unless you ask. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to extend grace to ourselves. And you guys have heard me say this before, because every one of us have made a financial mistake at some point in our lives, right? And we have had financial setbacks that may have gotten out of control. But what I don't want you to do is I don't want you to dwell on what you wish you could have done differently, on what you wish you could have done better, on what you wish you could have done more of. But at the same time, I do want you to own your mistakes. This is an important step so that you don't end up making the same mistakes again when it comes to your finances. Okay? So that's going to lead us into step 5, is just accepting our mistakes. So accept the financial mistake if it was, because you losing your job may not have been a mistake. So there's nothing for you to feel guilty about. I'm just speaking in general terms, right? If there was a mistake, a mishap. So again, we get overextended in credit, right? So accept the financial mistake without judgment so you can move on, and then you can direct your focus elsewhere. Because when we start beating ourselves up, it can lead us down a road of making more mistakes, believe it or not. And what happens is then we start turning to other coping mechanisms, and it could be harmful to us, right? Some addictions could come out of that. So don't beat yourself up. Accept the mistake. What did I learn from it? And then we're going to refocus. We're going to refocus. So what I want you to do is to consider creating a new vision with your current financial resources, right? Especially if you had prior expectations of how you were going to allocate your funds that were lost. So you were thinking about, you were, going to take vacation. Maybe you were going to purchase a new home. What about your children's college education? So maybe you have all of these expectations, of your lost income. So I need you to just refocus. I need you to shift. Right? So take some time to just carve out some new financial goals, and then work with the new vision in mind. Just take a step back and say, okay, I've sat with my budget. First of all, I sat with my feelings. I've sat with my budget. And now how can I refocus? Right? What is my new goal going to be with regard to, my finances? And then that will kind of help you with some positive coping skills to move beyond that financial crisis. And I'm sharing my heart on this tonight because you can say, well, Lena, you said that you're not, an expert, but I lived it. I have lived being in debt. I have lived having to move because I couldn't afford the place on my own, and not knowing where me and my son was going to live. I lived that. Everything packed in my car. To now today, being totally debt free. I owe no man nothing but to love him, right? So I lived it. So that's where my expertise come from. So I also understand grieving, financially. So I just want us to know that you don't have to stay there. You don't have to remain there. There are some ways out. So this is why I want to give you some practical tips tonight. And we're going to have the experts come on the next 2 weeks to answer any questions that you may have for the experts to help you with your saving and your budgeting and if it's purchasing insurance, they're going to help you with that. But I am open to any questions that you have for me regarding your emotional state questions that you may have for me regarding how I got out of debt, I'm an open book to share that with you tonight. I see a comment. Okay, I had to accept it, reset, refocus, and I had to go to a debt consolidation company for help. That's right. And sometimes we are ashamed, like we don't want to do that, because we are ashamed. And a lot of times too, Miss Pat, what we'll do is we feel like, well, I got myself into this, right? So I got to figure out how to get myself out of it. And then some of us will start working 2 and 3 jobs, just trying to get out of, debt. And that's not healthy for you. That's not healthy for your well-being. You're welcome, Kim. You are so welcome. What other questions do you guys have before we recap really quickly? I just wanted to hop on here tonight real quick, give you guys some practical tips, get you excited about our next 2 upcoming sessions, because I want to make sure that you are financially free. You are financially free. And if you have a lot of credit card debt, what I will say to you is a lot of times too, we think that, okay, let me try to pay off the highest amount first, right? Because it could be $10,000, we'll just say. But then you have a credit card that may be $250 or $500. Pay off the smaller one first. Pay off the smaller one first, because that's a win. And it can help change your mindset. You pay off your smallest debt first, and then you start taking that money and pay towards your larger debts. You always want to start with your smaller debts. We have a comment here. How do I build my credit without getting into credit card debt? This is a very good question, Kim, because I remember growing up and I was told that, you have to have credit. You have to have credit if you want anything in life. But the truth is, you have to have the finances. You have to have the money, right? So you can build your credit paying off, your car. You can build your credit by paying off, things in cash. So you can also build your credit. Again, if you have a lot of debt, starting off with your smallest debt, you want to make sure that you are paying your bills on time and that you are trying to pay more than the minimum amount. That will help your credit score. What your creditors look at is what they call your debt to income ratio. So they're looking at how much debt you have out there on your credit report versus how much income you have coming in. So you want to make sure that we aren't living outside of our means, right? So if you have to have a credit card for emergencies, you use it for that emergency and you pay it immediately off, right? So you're not having all the interest rates and all that stuff, piling up. That will help to build your credit. But I think a lot of times we just focus so much on, because again, I was taught that growing up, you have great credit, you can get anything. And now I realize that, Kim, well, no, if I have money to pay for it, I can get anything. And you know what? A lot of times you get discounts too by paying something off or paying cash. So sometimes they say, if you pay the whole thing off right now, we'll knock off $1,000. But see, we have to get to that mindset, y'all, and get out of that owing debt and that creditor, mentality. So that's how you would do it. If you're already in debt, Kim, pay off your smaller debt first, and then you want to save. How many of you guys save? You have to save. How many of you at least save 10% of whatever you bring in? So whatever you're bringing in, you want to put at least 10% of that in your savings. Put it away, okay? So if there's a savings account, if you have direct deposit, automatically have 10% of your check going into that particular savings account and that you're not touching. All right. So with the financial experts, I want to save some of that for them because I want them to talk to you guys about a traditional savings account versus a money market account. So I want to get into all of that to make sure that you are educated. I want you guys to be educated on finances. I want you to be educated on how to spend. I want you to be educated on how to save, and I want you to be educated on how to invest, because That's how I got out of debt. I got out of debt by sitting down, making a budget, didn't know anything about accounting and finances. So I want you guys to hear that. And it was spirit led. Just write down everything that I had coming in and everything that I had going out. And I looked at where I was wasting money. I looked at my leakage. And then I worked towards getting out of debt, paying off all of my credit, paid off my car. I paid everything off. So, and then saving, right? So all that, think about all the money that we're giving to these creditors that you could be paying yourself. You could be saving yourself. And then I had to learn how to invest and what to invest in and how to properly, invest. Because now what I'm looking at, guys, is not the fancy car sitting in my garage. And I thank God for, the earthly material things. But do I want a car note at my age right now? How much do I have in my retirement plan? We have to change our mindset. So again, you can have nice things, but pay them off. It's nicer when you have a title. It's nicer when you have the deed and you can walk in with cash and not be bound by, the debt. So great questions. Thanks, Kim. Yeah, she said cash. I didn't know sometimes that worked. Yes, it works best. Because a lot of times you will find that you will get discounts just from paying something off or paying cash. I can't tell you the last time my husband and I had a car note. Can't tell you. And I don't say that to boast because I told you guys. Came from my mom being on welfare, food stamps. Grew up in lower income area, was in credit card debt, had to move at one point because I could not afford where I was living on my own. So me and my son, we had everything packed in my car to being debt free today. Okay, so let's go back over our tips real quick. So if you're going through a financial crisis, I want you to take an intentional pause, right? Just take time to think clearly and to come in tune with your emotions, to go through that grief process, allow yourself to feel. The second thing that you need to do is you need to find a support system to lean on, your friends, your family. If it's a professional, a grief counselor or a financial counselor, make sure that you are speaking to someone who can provide you with some support, okay? And then I want you to sit down with your budget. Sit down with your budget. Write out your budget. Look at what's coming in and what's going out to see if there's some way that you can save some money, right? Do you have leakage? So I want you to remember that. Do I have leakage? And then I want you to extend yourself some grace. Because remember, everyone makes mistakes. All of us have made financial mistakes at some point in our lives, right? But it's a minor setback that's setting you up for greater, okay? And then I want you to accept your mistakes. So if your financial hardship is over a mistake that you made, learn from it. Stop beating yourself up, because beating yourself up can cause you more harm than good, all right? Then I want you to refocus. I want you to refocus on your new vision, your new spending goals, your new saving goals, your new investing goals. I want you to refocus on that, okay? And I want you guys to really start looking at home ownership. So when my son was in his 20s and he was renting apartments, and some of these apartments, guys, good gracious, they're like $1,000 a month for one bedroom. So I told him, I said, I need you to consider talking to someone about purchasing a home. Invest in yourself, right? So change our mindset even about, again, renting. And you can own. Think about the money that you're giving to someone else. Now, that's your choice. That's your prerogative. I'm not knocking you if you decide, you know what, I just want to rent. I don't want to own. But consider changing your mindset about that, and purchasing a home. Because what he was paying for a one-bedroom apartment, He now has a house with 3 bedrooms, 2 full baths, and it's his. It's his home, right? It's an investment, something that he's investing in himself. He sell it, right? A few years down the road, he has made money if he decides to move on to another home. So I hope that you guys have found these tips helpful. Do not forget, the next 2 weeks, we're going to have a certified and licensed financial professionals on here with me to join in with me. So I want you have homework tonight. So write down your financial goals. Write down your questions for them over the next 2 weeks. Remember, this is a safe place. We're not judging, okay? We're not here to judge you. We want to set you up for financial wellness and financial healing, right? So don't forget to like and share this video with those you feel who may benefit from it. I want you guys to have peaceful rest. I really appreciate you joining me tonight. Let me make sure I see you have one more comment before we go. Thank you, Minister Ross. She said great information. I appreciate you joining. Homework. Your questions for the financial experts next week. Look at your budgets. So I want you to look at your budgets. What are your financial goals? If you have questions around insurance, if you have questions around savings, if you have questions around spending, if you have questions around investing, you don't want to miss the next couple of weeks. Okay? All right. Until then, peaceful rest, guys. Have a great night. Thank you so much for joining. I love you all. Stay healed. Amen. Peaceful rest. See you guys next week. Good night.